Hello and welcome to the Broad Street Hockey Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Gilbert, and joining me is my co-host, Joe DeMarini. Joe, how are we doing on a beautiful Monday afternoon?
Struggling. I went to karaoke last night, and that's been over my head all day. No, it's good. This is my last podcast before we. Well, you're gonna have some guests on, I believe, over the next 2 weeks because I'm going to Ireland for a week and then I'm going to France for a few days. So I will be missing the rookie showcase and some of training camp. So that's a bit of a bummer, but Ireland will be fun.
Not even going to Italy. Not even going to the homeland while you're over there.
Not even going to the homeland. I am in the process of trying to get citizenship for Italy through ancestral lineage stuff, which is fun. But that's a few years down the road. How are you doing, Gilbs?
I'm doing good. Beautiful weekend. I checked out the open streets near Rittenhouse yesterday.
Oh.
That was really cool. That was good. Been nice being able to enjoy the city more now that it's not 95 degrees every day. Like yesterday, we went out like late afternoon. I wore a hoodie. I didn't need it the whole time, but like it's getting that time of the year where it's still late summer, but you still dress in layers sometimes. So yeah, beautiful weekend. Great day here.
Yeah.
Hockey starting this week with the rookie games on Friday and Saturday. So yeah, it's getting to be that time of year.
For sure. I went to 2 concerts this weekend and I wore denim jackets. So, it's like you say, you finally get that, you finally get to layer up again. And at the concert I was at last night, shout out Charlie O'Connor. I ran into him at the gates as I was walking in. So he's I'm sure he's enjoying his last few concert nights before we have to buckle down into the season.
Two of the biggest music heads in the flyer space, probably.
In the flyer space, yeah. No, like we do Saturday Music Club here at BSH, and my album this past weekend was Dummy by Portishead. So if you've never listened to Portishead, give that a spin. It's dope. It's perfect for the autumn as well. But anyway, there wasn't a lot of hockey news generally this week, but today we did have some PWHL news, and that's real fun. They gave their original 6 teams some official names.
They did, yes. We have the first there were names leaked like a while ago. There were apparently the first, like they had like a final 4 for each team, and then the fan backlash. I think they changed all of them. So
they're all different. Yeah, that was like last year about this time of year. I don't think they released it. I think there were like patents or like copyrights filed for those names, and then everybody's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. So. Yeah, I actually saw. I think Bauer Hockey still had like all 4 names up on like their pages. They forgot to take them down, but yeah, the official names: the Boston Fleet, the Minnesota Morgan Frost,
the
Montreal Victory, spelled the French way,
Victoire de Montréal.
There we go. That's why you're going to France.
Mais oui.
New York Sirens, Ottawa Charge, and the Toronto Scepters. Most of the feedback has been, pretty good. A lot of people dunking on the Ottawa Charge, their logo. It's kind of like a Calgary Flames, Cleveland Cavaliers type logo, but it is connected to make it the O there. Let me see if I can get this up on the screen here, Joe. What were your thoughts on these images, on these logos and names?
I like the names. I think it's hilarious that Morgan Frost had a entire ass hockey team named after him. I think that's very funny. I think the Sirens, that's a fantastic name. Just like from the mythology perspective, and then because New York always has sirens blaring, I just think that's a very well done name. The Ottawa Charge, that's pretty cool. I wouldn't have minded if they revived the Ottawa Alert, which was like a women's hockey team back in like the 1920s and 30s or something. So if they brought that back, that would have been cool. And I think the Montreal logo is fucking awesome. It's really cool. Yeah, there it is.
There they are up on the screen. Yeah, if you're listening to the podcast feed, make sure you check us out on YouTube. Broad Street Hockey, search us there. You get some graphics here. Yeah, I've seen the most praise for the Montreal logo, the quote unquote hidden M there in the middle, which is pretty obvious. But yeah, the Ottawa one is just. I see what they're going for, but take a look around at some other leagues, and like it looks way too familiar to a few others.
Yeah. The
You also
Toronto
have
Scepters one, that kind of looks like the
the Taylor Swifts there.
I hadn't thought of that. I was thinking of the football team, the Tennessee, is it the Titans? Or maybe it's not them. There's a team that has like that same TS kind
T-
of logo.
In the
Um,
NFL, I thought you maybe
maybe
were
it's
saying
baseball.
football, not football.
Oh, football, like
Football.
American football.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a baseball team. I don't know. I don't follow sports outside of hockey. Sorry, people, but um,
Maybe you're thinking of like the Mariners because they
that
have
could
like
be
they
it.
have an S. But they don't have a T in it. They have like the nautical compass. But
Oh,
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it'll pop into my head later, and I'll just tweet it out and be like, "Eureka! This is the team I was thinking of."
yeah. I
Um,
also saw someone tweeted out the Boston logo, two Ottawa logos, and the Boston logo again, which spells out boob. And they're very excited for PWHL. So
we
a
love it.
lot of fun to be had there.
I love it. Um, I just looked at the Boston logo. I just realized it's an anchor, like a sideways
Mm-hmm.
anchor. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah.
The season begins January. No, when does it begin? Because it
Oh,
says January, but this is January 2024.
that was last season. Yeah.
That was last year.
Should start sooner than that, I imagine, right?
I would think so, but
Mhm.
opening night, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just January again. Who knows? I guess we'll see.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
How long is it going to take for them to expand to Philadelphia? I would be all over a women's hockey team here. That would be so sick.
That would be, yeah. I think they definitely should go south a bit more because the southernmost team right now is New York, and it makes sense. You got three Canadian teams, three American teams, but yeah,
I mean, a big
aren't the Sirens? I think I read they're playing at like the Bridgeport Stadium, which
yeah,
is
they're
really
far
dumb.
out. Hmm.
Yeah, that's Connecticut, right? Bridgeport, Connecticut. Yeah, so that's should have just made that the whale, brought back the whale. But yeah, Philly definitely should be on the short list, I would think, for the next expansion, if they do expansion.
Hmm.
But maybe, depending what happens with the Sixers stadium. Like if the Sixers leave the Farg and the Farg needs another outlet. I know there's been talk of WNBA, PWHL now. So yeah, getting a professional women's team in there would be pretty cool.
I mean, it really would track with Ed Snyder's approach to hockey. Like, the Flyers are so engaged in building hockey in the community and like
Mhm.
really getting everyone to play. Um, I think it's a no-brainer for Spectacor to try and bring a PWHL team to Philly. And it wouldn't cost them that much at all. I don't think the salaries are anything like the NHL. So running a PWHL team probably wouldn't cost that much to do. Um, I also last summer went to the 3 Ice tournament at the Wells Fargo Center, which was like a 3-on-3 hockey tournament. Um, and they only opened the 100 section, so just the bowl
Mhm.
for that. And I'm like, why couldn't you do this with a women's team? Just
Mhm.
open the bowl, and then if it's really takes off and people are really interested, you just open the second layer. It just seems like a no-brainer to be able to do it. Um, but yeah, if it does happen, just know that Broad Street Hockey will absolutely be covering a women's hockey team too. Like that is
Yeah.
I would want to be a beat reporter for that. I would want to get in on the ground floor for that. Like that'd be so cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think the Farg does that similar thing for the wings who play there. They
hmm,
open up maybe like a few of the center sections up top, but it's just the lower sections. So yeah,
right.
you got any team name ideas? Philadelphia Freedom, which is apparently a song you had not heard of until this morning.
Yeah. I mean, I've probably heard it at like a billion games, and if you played it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I know that song. But
Yeah,
off the top of my head, I'm like, oh, fucking Elton John. Okay, cool.
yeah. Philadelphia. I mean, that would be a cool name, but I
Good
have
name.
to imagine there might already be trademarks in place for it. You have to avoid.
Yeah. I don't know what else would be like a good name.
Like the Liberty would be good, but the New York WBA team
Ooh.
already has that. Like you can't go that close. I don't know. It's
The Philadelphia Bells. Like
A whole
Belles,
there it is. There it is right there.
the Philly Bells.
That's the name. Let's trademark that right now. Let's buy the domain and hold it hostage for expansion. Philadelphia
That's
Bells.
the
That is top notch.
the Liberty Bells. The
It's top
Liberty
notch.
Bells.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm on my shit today.
That's
I'm on
very
it.
good. So
I'm
yeah,
on it.
that's perfect. That's a PWHL. Make sure you support that if you're
Yeah.
in one of those cities. Maybe even take a trip. I mean, no, you can't take a trip up to New York to see them unless like maybe they have a game at MSG or something if there's like a special event. But I don't
I
know.
think they did do that, right? Like, oh, they did it in Pittsburgh for some reason. It was like PPG Arena,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that was weird.
yeah. I'm not going to advise you to train up to Bridgeport, but if there's an event in New York or maybe even Philly, definitely check it out.
For sure. Um, so yeah, petition everybody. I guess like just be like, if you ever run into Dan Hilferty on uh the concourse at the Farg during a Flyers game, be like, hey Dan,
Mhm.
have you ever considered bringing in a PWHL team? Hmm.
Maybe he hasn't, but once he hears the Philadelphia Bells, he'll be like, "Oh, that rings a bell for me. I'm really into that," and
Yeah,
he'll get on board.
hell yeah.
All right, yeah, that was really the only hockey news over the past week. Still the Gaudreau stuff going on. So thoughts and prayers to there and that
Oh,
family.
did you see the new news that came out today?
I did. His wife is pregnant, so that's
Johnny's wife. So
yes,
both of the
yeah,
wives are currently pregnant, which
yeah,
is just devastating.
yeah.
It just gets worse every time. It just gets worse. Every new bit of information that's come out just makes it even more horrific and tragic.
Hmm.
And today was the um, eulogies and the ceremony, and the family was very gracious to publicly broadcast it. So
Hmm. Yeah,
um, yeah.
yeah.
So
And
thoughts continue to be with the Gaudreau families.
yeah, to end that on a somewhat positive note, I think last week Cole Caulfield announced he's changing his number to 13 in honor of Johnny Gaudreau, another small
S-
goal scorer.
Small
So
goals boy.
apparently, it's past the deadline of changing your number, but he obviously got special permission from the NHL. So
Sure.
good to see Cole Caulfield do that, even if the Flyers did pass on him for Cam York, who's better than Cole Caulfield.
He might be.
Yeah. Speaking of Cam York and the Flyers young players, Brunswick Hockey's 25 under 25 is wrapping up on Tuesday. We had number 2 today on Monday. Tyson Forster, our very own Joe DeMarini wrote that one up. So I don't think I had Forster 2. No, I had Forster 5. You had
Mhm.
Forster 2.
I did.
Um, yeah, you got the typho fever, I guess.
I certainly had the typho fever. I am so high on what Forrester can do. Um, like he played at a like 38 goal pace over the last 28 or 30 games of the season, and his stellar underlying metrics didn't dip at all. He was still just this like possession guy. He was still um, creating scoring chances at a nearly elite rate. His defensive play was outstanding. So I'm really excited to see what he can do next year. Um, what was interesting, we I just found out that we have an all three zones account, so I've been digging around on that for the past like week and a half, and um, Tyson Forrester is really really good at creating plays out of the neutral zone. So creating scoring chances on the rush out of the neutral zone. He's not very good at it from their own zone, but that tracks because he's not that fast, so he can't
Mhm.
create those kind of plays. But if he's already halfway up the ice, man, he is a real dangerous threat.
Yeah, Forster. I mean, he's been praised pretty highly praised for his two-way game. We saw him stay in the NHL because of that, even though his goal scoring wasn't coming around until second half pretty much. But
Hmm.
yeah, still very young. I imagine he would be pretty high on their prospect list that around other experts. But yeah, number 2 right behind. I have to assume Matvey Michkov's going to be number 1. But yeah, Forster. I mean,
Surprise! It's you, the listener. You're
guess
the
what?
number one
It's
Flyers
you.
prospect. Yeah, guess what? It's you. You're the
Yeah.
boat.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, top 5. We had Forster 2, York 3, Farabee 4, Drysdale 5,
Hmm.
Bonk 6, Luchenko, Urson, Brink, Emil Andre to round out the top 10. I saw there was a lot of discourse on the Drysdale post. I
Oh,
imagine
yes.
it's been a lot of like, I guess people are down on him because of what they saw in less than half a year, learning a new system, new coach, new defensive partners, like everything. Like, and people forget that he was a highly touted prospect, was
Yep.
a top 10 pick, I think
He was
seventh
sixth,
overall,
sixth
sixth overall. So
overall.
yeah, and a right-handed defenseman, which is
Hmm.
something that's very coveted in the NHL. So yeah, last year 10 points in 34 games, including 5 points with 24 games with the Flyers, averaged 1848 of ice time with the Flyers. Really hasn't had a normal season since 2021, 2022, which is when he was 19 with the Ducks, who aren't a great team, weren't a great team
Nope.
back then. So yeah, I have a lot of time for Drysdale. I think we talked before about how you said that kind of the rebuild kind of hinges on him.
It does. I went into the comments section for that article too to talk about it. The thing with Drysdale is he needs to be a success for his own benefit, for the benefit of the team, but it also will have to his success will demonstrate that this front office knows what kind of talent to target, knows when to acquire it, and like what they're willing to give up to do it. We have recognized that this team is not going to rebuild through top 5 draft picks. So that means they're going to have to trade for high-end talent. Drysdale succeeding will show that they are able to identify and then go out and get that talent. Um, if Drysdale flops and the other rumored players like Marco Rossi or Caden Gooley, or was it Arbor Jekai? I can't remember. But if those guys turn into studs and take over the league, then it's going to reflect poorly on Briere and the um, the scouting part of the Flyers because they didn't evaluate the talent properly.
Yeah, like we don't know exactly what players, what teams were
No,
in on Gautier. Like Rossi has been in rumors. The Ducks obviously like maybe they pick,
Zegras,
yeah, they picked Drysdale over Zegras, which
yeah,
I mean, yeah, which makes sense because they didn't really have any top centers, but they also didn't really have any right defenseman. Like Sanheim's their top right defenseman, who maybe is better on his left side, but he's good on the right side offensively. And then what? Ristolainen, Bonk, who was in the midst of a great season, but we'll get to him a little bit later. So getting a good young defenseman like Drysdale, I yeah, we'll see how that goes for them. But I also think picking out Sean Walker wasn't just like a throw in that trade. Like we know Briere wanted Walker in that deal.
hmm,
Not a similar player to Drysdale, but like undersized right-handed defenseman. We saw what Walker turned into. So I guess the hopes are that Drysdale can get there defensively, or even just be average defensively, and then let his offense do the work for the rest of it.
yeah, exactly. I know that a lot of people criticize the Flyers for not taking big enough swings. Drysdale is probably the biggest swing of a return that they could have made for the Gauthier trade. Like Zegras already has the clear puck skills. He might be a center, he might be a winger, we don't know. Marco Rossi is a very good player, but he probably caps as a 2C on like a best case scenario. Caden Gooley, if that's who it was, because I know Montreal was interested. I just forget which player was rumored to
I know
be
Xhekaj was in rumors, but I'm not sure if that was for Gautier. Like
or
I did,
Jekai.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, like solid players, but they're not going to be, they don't have the ceiling that Drysdale could potentially reach.
Yeah.
So, in going out and acquiring him, that's the kind of swings they need to take. And I've talked about it before how Bob Murray, who I believe drafted Drysdale as the Ducks GM, is now a senior advisor within the Flyers. And he has a very good track record of picking high end defensemen out of the draft. Hampus Lindholm is one of them. Cam Fowler is pretty good. Um, was Brandon Montour a Duck originally? I can't remember. Oh, Shea Theodore was.
Yeah,
Shea
Theodore, yeah,
Theodore
that
was
was
a
the
Duck.
one. Yeah.
That's who I was thinking of. And these are all like really, really good defensemen.
Mhm.
So if Bob Murray was in the Flyers front office and whispering in Briere and Jonesy's ear like this kid is excellent, you have to get a hold of him, then sure, I'm game.
Yeah, he's the only one of the players we listed there that has the potential to win an award. Like, I know that's not the end all be all, but Drysdale could win the Norris in a few years. Like, if he pans out offensively and is on the top power play unit with Michkov, with Luchenko, with maybe they run
Konechny.
with Konechny, maybe they run two defensemen with Bonk in the bumper. Like, if he's on the power play, like he has the potential to be a point per game player, if not more, which would be really high ceiling. But that's something that they definitely could do. And he pairs well with Cam York for the future. They're both Drysdale's 22, York's 23. They can be that top pair for the next decade, pretty much.
Hmm.
Like, be that top pair to anchor the team through this rebuild to when they're becoming competitive and they're growing together. So I think that was part of the reason probably they wanted to get Drysdale as another young defenseman they can pair with York. They don't have to wait 2 years for Bonk to come up. And
Hmm.
yeah, it is that big swing. And Briere, some fans, go at Briere for not taking big enough swings or not doing enough. And yeah, maybe having Cutter Gauthier and 50 goal score potential would be great, but having Drysdale, who maybe a long shot to win the North at some point, but he has the skill set, and it's unfair to judge him based off 25 games with the Flyers.
For sure. I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe he puts up an Eric Carlson like 100-point season or something, and suddenly we're like, oh, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Um,
as long as he has better defense than Eric Carlson, because that's
yeah. Well, I mean, that season was on that abysmal Sharks team, right? So he was
yeah.
just trying to do everything, and I think that caused his defense to suffer. Once he joined the Penguins, Carlson's defense did improve, and a big part of that is he just didn't have to carry so much of the load, you know. But no, I'm still excited about Drysdale. I think there's a lot of potential there. Um, is there anyone on your personal ballot that you are like, maybe I rated them too highly, or maybe I wasn't high enough on them? Are you still pretty like satisfied with where you voted for your prospects?
I'm fairly satisfied. Like, after
Hmm.
seeing some other lists out there from quote unquote prospect experts, maybe I'd move around. But like, I have the sheet up of all of our rankings and where we ranked them. Like, my biggest difference in ranking, besides not ranking somebody or ranking somebody who was off the list, is Hunter McDonald, who ended up 15. You had him 20. I had him 23.
Hmm.
I guess people were or talked or like hearing Jonesy talk about him because he was ranked as highly as 10 and 11. He was ranked as low as off the ballot. So yeah, McDonald seems to be just like a very low ceiling, maybe high enough floor to be that third pair guy. But yeah, no one would really be like, okay, this guy needs to move up a lot, or this guy needs to move down a lot, just because it's only been a month and we haven't really seen anyone play. I know we've seen a few prospects have some highlights recently in the overseas leagues, but no one you know, I'm like, oh, I would have put him here if I knew that now. But how
Hmm.
about you?
I think some of the most recent draftees I probably would have been a little kinder to, but we submitted these ballots pretty shortly after the draft. So it wasn't like we had time to go back and watch a bunch of tape on these players. The one that I'm like willing to give some more time to now is Jack Berglund, who a lot of us didn't really like that pick at 51 overall because Berglund is like maybe a 3C ceiling. He was a bad skater, really bad. Um, it just felt like a weird choice. But Charlie O'Connor over at All PHLY, he recently did his interview with Brent Flair about the prospects. And it came out in that interview that Berglund had been wearing skates that didn't fit his feet. They were the wrong size. We're not talking like a half size different. We're talking 2 sizes too big on 1 foot because his feet are different size. Can you imagine trying to do your crossovers with like a skate that's 2 sizes too big for you? Like no
Imagine
wonder,
imagine trying walking with a
right?
shoe that's two sizes too big. Like, you got clown shoes on.
It's crazy. So no wonder his skating looked terrible. His skates didn't fit. So watch him turn into Braden Point. Like all of a sudden, now that the skates fit, it's like, oh, I can do this, and he turns into a 1C that we need.
Yeah, I'm looking now. I mean, Berglund was not on the top 25. I don't think he
I
ranked
didn't vote for him.
he
I
ranked
didn't vote
20.
for him at all.
I guess I was opposite of you to where I put more stock in these recent picks because
Yeah, you
I
had him
had
at 12.
I had him
Holy
at
shit.
12. I had Spencer Gill at 15. Like I just had time for these new guys. I'm like, you know what? Having shiny new toy. I had that flyer stuff there. Yeah, like Berglund, sure. Yeah, definitely the skating thing with his skate side is going to be difference. But I also kind of lean towards these players that are in the KHL, in the SHL, who
Mm,
are 18, playing against fellow men. There, he's 6'3". He's big enough to be a solid two-way center. So yeah, I think I also saw Alex Appleyard tweeted out over the weekend. He had like a 2-point game,
yeah.
I guess in a preseason game, because that's not showing up yet on his elite prospects page. But yeah, I think some of these more recent draft picks, maybe it's just because Bonk has overperformed expectations in his first year, and like I was reading into that a bit. But yeah, I have time. I have more time for these guys that are more unknowns rather than the
Mhm.
guys like I don't know,
Jet
like
Luchenko.
no, I love Jet Luchenko.
I know.
It's amazing how everyone's just completely come around to the Jet Luchenko pick. Like
I
draft night,
mm,
maybe not everyone, but a decent amount of people. Draft night, we're like, who is this? What are you doing? Draft Constant Hellenius, draft Zeev. But now you're like, oh, he's fast. He's got the combine stuff. He's got the raw strength. Let's
he
see what
said
he
go
can do.
birds.
Gave a thumbs up and said, "Go Birds." I'm all in. Yeah, I ranked Berglund over even someone like Samu Tuamala who came in 13th because he had a down year last year.
Mhm.
Rizzo was at 16. You had him right at 16. I had him at
Mhm.
14. Like, yeah, I think the unknown of Berglund and of Spencer Gill kind of drew me in a little bit.
I so I didn't rate Spencer Gill, and now I'm thinking maybe I should have. I think they're something that this little project that we've been going through, reading all these profiles, writing them. One of the criticisms I often see is that, oh, the Flyers just have a bunch of bottom sixers, just a bunch of depth guys. But the thing about a lot of these prospects now, they're not sure things to make the NHL in a bottom six role. Like, they're either going to be top sixers or top four defensemen, or they're not going to play. Um, like Spencer Gill, he might never cut it in the NHL, but if he makes it, he's going to be really good. Like that, there are these more boom bust
Mm,
prospects than we're used to seeing.
but I don't necessarily agree with that because like there are a bunch of these prospects who, yeah, their whole life they're the top player on their team, but then they hit the pro level and either they don't adapt their game and they do bust, or maybe
Hmm.
they adapt their game a little bit and become a solid bottom of the lineup guy. Like the perfect
Scott Laughton,
example of that, Scott Lawton. There you go,
yeah,
first round pick, couldn't cut it. Hextall was completely out on him. Luckily, didn't trade him. Went down to the AHL, worked his ass off, and now he's the glue guy on the
hmm
team. So like there's examples like that, but yeah, there's a lot of not lottery tickets, so to speak, but a lot of like a lot of a lot of buns in the oven. You just got to make sure you just got to see
precisely.
which ones pan out, which recipes worked, which one you can maybe work with after the fact to put in a different recipe to make a sandwich or something rather than just eating it alone.
Yeah, and some of these lottery tickets, I'm really stoked about. Ilya Pautov, I think, had like 5 points in 2 or 3 games to start the season in the not the KHL,
Yeah, that's
the
the yeah. I don't know how
MHL.
the MHL, which is like apparently horrible defense. So
Yeah,
he better be putting up points like that.
precisely. That's just it. He should be scoring at that rate in that league, and if he is, that's a good sign for us.
But
Uh,
the other side of that is like he's maybe not developing as good of a two-way game or defensive game as you want to see,
eh,
which I know, which I know is a stereotype with Russian players because there's a bunch of other players that also do that. They're just like all skill and flash, and then hit the pro level and don't want to work on their defensive game. But I don't know. But yeah, they got what him in the sixth round. I'm very happy with that pick.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And hey, if he scores enough to cover up for lazy defense,
Mhm.
fine.
Yeah.
Um, Someone else I'm keeping an eye on is Noah Powell. Um, the Elite Prospects rink side, they just released the Flyers ranking last Friday, the sixth overall prospect pool. And the way they wrote about Noah Powell, they're like, there's a lot of good stuff there. If he can figure out the skating, holy, they got a real good player there. I also really like Heikki Ruohonen. I'll get it right one day. I think he's an interesting center prospect that has a lot of upside, but he might also just not make it at all. There was one other player that I was. Maybe I should have personally been a little bit more cognizant of Alex Bump and Owen McLaughlin, and I think I'm probably too high on Alexis Jean-Jean, who is an undersized, very skilled forward, but might not be able to translate it to the NHL. I still really like the skill. I just don't know if it's going to be good enough.
Yeah, that's the thing about a lot of these guys. Like there's a lot of guys there. Yeah, let's transition into that elite prospect ranking. Yeah, so obvious top Michkov, number 2 is Bonk, number 3 is Jet Luchenko, but after that, there's like a gulf. There's definitely a gulf there. It might drop down like 2 tiers even if you were to rank these in tiers. Number 4 is, where did this guy even fall on the 25? He was number
Not
25.
rated. Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was maybe tied for 25. Yeah, he was 25. Defenseman Carter Sotheran is the 4th best Flyers prospect according to Elite Prospects.
So he was an honorable mention in our 25 under 25 because we had a tie for 24. So Carter Sotheran ended up 29th in the rankings. Yeah, I was shocked to see that they thought so highly of him. I don't know. Do you know anything about this guy that we're like clearly missing?
No, I mean, just reading from the Elite Prospects things, like tool grades from 1 to 9, he's between 5 and 5.5 at everything besides skating. There's a 4.5. Mitch Brown said Carter Sotheran, one of the best WHL defensemen this season. Only 19, so still a few years away. Trying to see when they drafted him, because they drafted him 2 years ago.
I think so.
2023. So last year.
1 year, yeah.
5th round, 6'3", right-handed, which definitely does help, I think. I'm not sure if that really impacts into their rankings, but well-rounded player with a lot of NHL projectable elements. Elite Prospects says his size and reach could make him an effective NHL two-way defenseman. He positions well defensively already. To one day fill such a role, to develop his precision skating and physical skills, his top 4 upside. So I think that's what a lot of casual fans and even just casual prospect watchers, analysts maybe miss is kind of the finer points of the game. Like, yeah, you see he put up 2 points. Like Oliver Bonk had a great season last year, but like most of those points came in the power play. How did he look at even strength? How did he look defensively in his own zone? And that's what sites and scout like Elite Prospects can do, because they have so many different people that they can just watch the games and they know what to look for. They know how to watch the games.
Watch the games, nerd.
As people might say. So yeah, that's exciting. But going back to what we were saying, he's one of many that could be something. He's 19, still is going to have another year, 2 years WHL, then probably 2 years in the AHL. And who knows where the Flyers are in 2030? Who knows where we are? Who knows if the Earth still exists in 5 years? Like Southern, Bump, Emil Andre, Barkey. I guess maybe not of Andre because he's 22 and NHL almost ready. But like Spencer Gill, 17. Even Kaplan is 20. Powell, 19. Cernik, 19. Carson Barnagen, 19. They have these bunch of guys that are just like 20 or younger that, you know what, maybe they'll be something, maybe they won't. You don't know.
I'm looking again at our ratings and I'm really high on Cernik. I had him rated number 15.
Is that the one that Charlie tweeted about and you were like, yeah, that's me, I'm fans of Cernik?
No, that was Jean-Jean. That was
Oh,
Alexis Jean-Jean. I'm fans. I really like the skill, but it goes back to these like the tweets and comments I see about people being like, oh, we just have a bunch of 4th liners. Alexis Jean-Jean is not going to be a fourth liner. He doesn't have that game. If he's going to make the NHL, he has to be at least a top 9 goal scorer. That's how the kind of player he would have to be. So I don't think it's very fair to criticize the Flyer system for having a bunch of bottom sixers, you know?
Yeah, that's just what people who criticize everything the Flyers do is talked about. But yeah, you want to have guys with that top 6 or even middle 6 potential because
Yeah.
you need to be able to fill out your roster with some cheap young guys so you can pay your stars. You can go into free agency and pay stars and then fourth liners, sure. If you have fourth liners, third pair guys, if you have prospects that can fill that hole, great. If not,
Yeah.
you can usually find a free agent for a few $1 million on a 1 or 2 year deal
Garnet Hathaway, baby.
to fill that gap. Yeah. And the Flyers, whether we like it or not, are trying to go down that path of, okay, come to Philadelphia. We'll treat you right. We're building the culture here. Come play here. And I mean, only time will tell if that works. But if it does work, I believe the Flyers' plan is okay. When we go down that path, the Flyers become a destination like a Tampa, like a Boston, like somewhere where veterans are like, okay, I'm in my mid 30s. I haven't won much yet. Let me go to Philadelphia, see if I can get a spot in the middle 6, see if I can get a good spot on the fourth line and go to work.
Sign a league minimum contract because I might have a shot at winning a Stanley Cup here. It's like Cam Atkinson down in Tampa Bay, signed a league minimum. Matt Duchene is tremendously underpaid on the Dallas Stars, but guess what? The Stars are like a cup contender, so he has the chance to win. In like Edmonton, you have who was it that they picked up last year? He's like
they have Skinner
Connor Brown.
Year.
Oh, they have Skinner
Connor Brown, yeah, they have Connor Brown.
But I think they signed him for like super cheap because he was like McDavid's BFF for a while, and he signed a really cheap contract because, like, guess what? You get to play with Connor McDavid. Yeah. Like that's the kind of appeal that hopefully Philly will have. And far as
that's why Druin signed in Colorado. He's best friends with McKinnon, and he's becoming a good reclamation project.
Absolutely.
On that note, keep an eye out on Sidney Crosby, future Colorado Avalanche.
Whoa, spicy take. Spicy take. That would be crazy. Can you imagine 1C McKinnon, 2C Crosby?
They'd win the cup again. They'd win the cup again.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That power play would be unreal. That's crazy. You just like flabbergasted me with that hot take.
I completely derailed your train of thought with that.
Completely derailed it. No, just on the players that have a chance. A lot of these picks are from the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Like, these are clearly upside swings later in the draft. And if one of them turns into like a Jesper Bratt or a Johnny Gaudreau or what Oscar Lindblom was going to be, like a 5th round pick turning into like a second line goal scorer. You've got to. They don't have to be like Joe Pavelski in the 7th round. Like that never happens unless you're Joe Pavelski. But if they can crack a middle 6 with a 5th round pick, like that's pretty fucking good drafting. You're lucky if 2 picks in any given draft year are NHL players. That's a good draft if you make 2 NHLers out of a draft year.
Yeah, you're lucky if your 1st round pick outside of a lottery pick is an NHL regular. Like that, people don't realize that. And you can't complain about giving up a 4th round pick for Eric Johnson and also complain about the Flyers only having 4th liners in their system. Like either you care about those picks or you don't. So, but yeah, it's easy to complain about these guys, but looking at the elite prospect rankings, there's a bunch of guys there, and maybe 2 or 3 of them pan out. But if 2 or 3 of them become top of the lineup players with the players you already have under contract, add some free agents in there, you got a stew going, baby. You got a stew.
We got a stew. Oh man, that's one of my favorites. Arrested Development. Whoa. What are you gonna do with that chicken wing? Get these, a couple more of these, throw them in a pot. You get yourself a stew, baby. Classic.
Yeah, but yeah, looking at the prospects, it's sure there's no names after Michkov, Bonk, Luchenko, but there's guys. There's guys there, and it's not just like it was when the Flyers were mediocre, and it was like, okay, these guys can maybe be AHL tweener guys. These guys can play in the NHL at some point.
I think what's also humbling is I've been reading the other EP pipeline rankings. It's the same with a bunch of other teams. They have like 3, maybe 4 guys at the top and then a giant gap between the next crop of prospects. So it's not just the Flyers that have that drop off between like Joe Luchenko and Carter Sutherland in this ranking.
But
It's
it is
just
only your favorite team deals with those issues. They only
correct.
have a few
Right.
prospects. They give up goals to first and people making their debut and people in long droughts. They get shut out by backup goalies.
Yep.
Only your favorite team that happens to.
Former backup goalies. Alex
Or-
Lyon, I think, has a shutout against the Flyers. I'm sure Stoli has one.
yeah,
God.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does.
I'm sure Bob does too. He goes into like beast mode every time he plays against the Flyers.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of beast mode, is there anything else you wanted to
Well,
touch on for the
I want
prospects?
to discuss Oliver Bonk a bit
Oh,
because
oh,
looking at, I know Charlie brought up the idea a few weeks ago, and it's the dead of the offseason. Like, if Briere should sell high on Bonk, I forget what the actual conversation was, but that kind of got brewed in my head a little bit. And like reading about
mm,
how 33 of his 67 points were on the power play
hmm
does give me some pause. I also just want to like call out some like Flyers, some people like I actually respect, be like, I heard him talking like, oh, Oliver Bonk ran the power play up in London. He didn't run the power play. He was
no,
in that bumper spot, which maybe that's a situation where that's transferable to the NHL, but you rarely see a defenseman anywhere but the point on an NHL power play. So, maybe that goes well and he is a power play threat, but I'm not expecting his offense to maybe be as good as it looks like it's going to be,
no,
but according to elite prospects and all these prospect experts, he has a good defensive game, which is what you want to see first from a defenseman, obviously, and then you want to see the offense come with that.
hmm
So looking for more even strength scoring this season from Oliver Bonk.
yeah, and he's got pretty good skates too. Like he's mobile,
Hmm.
He's got good reach, good instincts. Even if the offense doesn't translate, he's still going to be a reliable top 4 defenseman, a right shot top 4 defenseman. Um, and if we do sell high on him, there's like the centerpiece of a package that could bring back a 1C. Like that's what it's
Definitely,
going to take to get
definitely.
it done.
Yeah,
So there's still a lot of value in him as a prospect.
yeah. I'm hoping they don't. I'm hoping that they do keep him and just
Yeah.
slot him in the lineup next year after they trade Risto. But just don't be too shocked. I mean, I'm assuming Bonk's going to be on the power play again, but like if he doesn't take a huge jump up in points, don't be
Right.
too disappointed.
Or loses points
Yeah.
because maybe they have a better bumper option this coming season.
Hmm.
The London Knights always go for it. Like they are a contending team all the time. They're really good. So that's going to inflate his scoring total to begin with. And if someone takes his spot on the bumper, then yeah, I would love to see the Flyers try him at the bumper. The power play can't get any worse. So just like say, fuck
Yeah.
it. Let's put him in the bumper. He's really good at that.
Yeah. Especially because you have Drysdale, who can be the power play quarterback. Drysdale, Bonk, Michkov on one side, Konecny on the other side. Get a good net front guy. There you go.
Why
You got a
not?
power play.
Risto at the net until he gets traded.
Yeah.
Boost
Yeah.
those point totals, baby.
Yeah. So Oliver Bonk had a great season last year.
Mhm.
But so did a current Flyer.
Sure did. Who is that current Flyer?
I'm reading right now on BroadStreetHockey.com. Please like and
Really?
subscribe. That Travis Konecny's 2023-24
Mhm.
offensive stats among the best in the league.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you have to say on that?
Yeah, so I wrote this article and it went up today that Travis Konecny had some of the best offensive metrics of anyone in the NHL last season. Like I don't think people fully understand just how good TK was last year at creating scoring chances. And a lot of that I am sure has to do with the shift to a rush-based offense. Um, so like I said earlier, we have an all 3 zones subscription, and I was just browsing through it, and I was just stunned at how good TK's numbers were. So, one of the charts that I've got here is shots off the forecheck or cycle per 60 on the y-axis, and on the x, it's shots off the rush. Travis Konecny is in the upper echelon of those players. And if you have an All Three Zones account or a BSH subscription, you can see this chart. The 3 players closest to him are Jack Eichel, Artemi Panarin, and Nathan MacKinnon. Those are the 3 players who are in his in the realm of creating off both the rush and the cycle. Those are pretty fucking good players.
Yeah, I mean, if Konecny can put up numbers like those, you definitely cannot complain. And the Flyers had decent weapons with him last year, but he did that mostly on his own. Like Couture had some good stretches. Tippett was on his line for a bit, but Konecny just continues to be the driving force of the Flyers.
I mean, he's producing at a star level rate. The points aren't there though, because the thing you have to remember about all of these charts and all of these stats, they are at 5-on-5, which is where the Flyers did most of their damage last season because the power play was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, why doesn't Konecny have the point totals that Panarin and Eichel and MacKinnon had? Well, last season MacKinnon had 48 power play points, Eichel had 22, and Panarin had 44. Do you know how many Travis Konecny had? 9.
Ooh,
he had 9
not even
power
double
play
digits.
points, not even double digits. If you look at the rate stats for the power play points per 60, Konecny's was 2.4. Eichel's was double that. MacKinnon and Panarin both tripled it, and Panarin's was 9.0 power play points per 60, which is wild. That's just crazy. So Konecny's point totals aren't as flashy because the power play sucks. And I touch on it in the article as well, that one of the reasons we keep saying like Konecny is a extraordinarily good player, but he can't be the best player on your team, is even when he has these capabilities, he's still on the worst power play in the league and isn't single-handedly fixing it in the way that like Connor McDavid could probably just fix the Flyers power play, but there is the potential that with Mishkov or a healthy Drysdale, that suddenly the power play is clicking at like league average, and then Konechny's got an extra like 15 to 20 points per season.
Yeah, just looking at the raw 5-on-5 numbers, Konecny had 52 5-on-5 or even strength points last year. That might include 4-on-4 and 3-on-3.
Yep.
NHL.com. He had tied for the 31st most even strength points with 52 with Trocheck, Marchessault, Jason Robertson, Brady Tkachuk, Wyatt Johnston, ahead of Carter Verhaeghe, Tim Stützle, Evgeny Malkin, Matt Duchene, Barkov, Hischier, Bo Horvat, Brock Besser, DeBrincat. Like he was extremely hurt by a bad power play. Luckily he was able to score 6 shorthanded goals and get a few more shorthanded assists there too.
Yeah.
But if he even had a decent power play, he would have been looked that much better. And it's why I'm so high on him going into this season. Like I know there's been a lot of complaints about his contract and about, did they pay him too much? Was this the wrong message? Should they have traded him? Whatever. But when you have the 30th, 31st best even strength points, like you want to try to build on that if you can. Like, and it's 5-on-5 points per 60, 32nd. Owen Tippett 30th. Like, get these guys on a power play that can put the puck in the net, and you'll see their overall numbers skyrocket. Joel Farabee 39th. Like the Flyers were great at 5-on-5.
Really good.
Special teams and goaltending, and we saw that in the playoffs. Whoever had the better special teams and goaltending won. That's just the name of the game in the playoffs. So as long as the Flyers can, Michkov should help. He's not going to be a one-man solution, but getting Michkov in there, getting a consistent power play quarterback, whether it's Drysdale, whether it's York, whether it's Sanheim, getting a consistent, maybe not 5-man unit, but at least 3 or 4-man unit, and then cycle in another guy, figure out what works and get that up.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Owen Tippett. We'll touch on him at the end because as I was doing this, I was also very impressed by some of Owen Tippett's comps. So we'll get to him at the end. But I just want to do another TK one here. At all 3 zones, there's a chart that compares shot contributions per 60 and scoring chance contributions per 60. Basically, what that tries to show is, are the shots that the player is putting up, are they empty calorie? Like, is this just points in unsustainable ways, or are they like weak shots? Travis Konecny is elite at this. His scoring, it means his offense that is being created is legit. And the two players that he's sharing space with are Matthew Tkachuk and some guy on the Pittsburgh Penguins who might end up on the Avs, according to Ryan Gilbert. Sidney Crosby. Like, Konecny is generating offensive chances for himself and the team at the rate that Matthew Tkachuk, and Sidney Crosby are. The only two players in the league ahead of him are Nikita Kucherov and Connor McDavid.
Wow.
Fucking nuts, dude.
Wow. Yeah, I'm really excited to hopefully see Konecny and Michkov at 5-on-5 this season, because like the more you read about Michkov, yeah, he's very skilled, very talented, but it's his IQ, it's his play away from the puck to find teammates, open up those passing lanes. I think Konecny has that in his game as well. So he's put up back-to-back 30-goal seasons, back-to-back or 3 straight 30 assist seasons. So yeah, he has what it takes to be a star in this league, but he hasn't had the line mates to go with him. I mean, so now that he's in his prime, has his contract under him, maybe people are like, oh, he'll just take a step back now. He's got paid, but no, he's hungry. Going into his prime, I see a career year for him. And last year, he shot 13.5%, which is above his career average of 12.5%, but
Not
shot
too much. It's not too far ahead.
one shot per 100 shots wanted. But
Yes.
he shot 16% 2 years ago, 17% back in the 2020 shortened season. So
Yeah.
he's capable of getting 35, maybe 40 goals, especially if he has those weapons where defenders have to worry about, okay, is he going to shoot or is he going to pass? And he has that.
Yep. And honestly, this was the most interesting thing that I found out. We think of Konecny as a goal scorer, but according to these charts here, he's both. He's very good at both scoring goals and setting up his teammates. Another chart here was 5v5 shots and passes. So it's like the player's own shots per 60 and then primary shot assists per 60. So primary shot assists are the first assist that turns into a shot on goal. Okay. And Travis Konecny, again, in an elite company, kind of on his own. The closest person to him is Jack Hughes, who we all understand is really, really good at, shooting and stuff. So that's fun. But that means he's a setup guy too, which we don't think of Travis Konecny as a setup guy. We think of him as a goal scorer, but he's doing both. And like you said, a career year. I think if the power play is at league average, we could see, and Konecny replicates this kind of play, I think we could see a 100-point season in the next couple of years. I'm not ruling it out.
Okay, next couple of years, then not this coming year. But
maybe not next year, but in the next few years, I'm not ruling it out.
I thought you were going to say like 80. I think he could be a point per game player this coming season.
Absolutely. He already is, basically.
Yeah, 68 points in 76 games last year. Year before that, 61 and 60. So that's to stay healthy to get to 80 points. But if he had 12 more power play points last year, he would have got there. Yeah. I have that chart up there you were talking about. I see the Devils logo, which I imagine you said Jack Hughes.
That's Hughes. Yep.
Lightning, I imagine is Kucherov. Panthers, Tkachuk. Penguins, Crosby, and then the Oilers,
McDavid. Which is McDavid. Look at Leon Drysdale hanging out all the way down there on the bottom.
I see that. And then up top there, I'm assuming that's McKinnon. And then there's a Predators player up there.
Philip Forsberg.
That's Forsberg. Okay, yeah. That
he was real good last year.
Yeah. And so just to wrap this all up, I think there are 3 camps when it comes to the people that complained about the Konecny contract. One is people didn't think Konecny is worth the contract, which I think this kind of disproves that. The article I wrote this summer comparing him to other contracts kind of disproved that, especially with the cap going up. The second group is people who think, sure, it's a fine contract, but signing Konecny was the wrong move. They should have traded him. You shouldn't be paying somebody this much for so long during a rebuild, which that's a fair argument. We'll see how it ages in the latter years of this contract. Sean Couturier's contract looked great, and now it's not looking as good. But if he stays healthy, good. And if he gets hurt, put him on LTR IR, which isn't the best thing, but it works, gives you some cap
Yeah,
relief. And then the third camp is just people that are upset at everything the Flyers do, and
correct.
we should pay them no mind.
We should pay them no mind.
Yeah.
No, we also follow Hockey Viz.
Yes.
Micah's work
Shout out
is
Micah. Yeah.
fantastic. Shout out Micah. He uses a system called SG, which is synthetic goals, and it's his model's way of basically calculating a variation of expected goals. And he has Travis Konecny as a top, like a first line, clear cut first line forward, and maybe even like an above average first line forward. So, like, Konecny is that good. And now I do want to shout out Owen Tippett briefly because his name is at the top of a lot of these charts as well for the offensive stats. On the first one, which is shots off the cycle and shots off the rush, he is like hanging out with a bunch of players that we also know. I think that's Jack Hughes is there with him, which is crazy. Makes sense though with his speed and his rush game. In another chart, the shot contributions and scoring chance contributions, he is sharing space with Matt Boldy, Jack Eichel, and fucking Austin Matthews in terms of shot to scoring chance contributions, which is unbelievable. Like, that's real good. And then on the last chart, which was the shots per 60 and the primary shot assist per 60, he is again sitting right next to Austin Matthews. I might have to write an article about Owen Tippett because he's really shockingly good at offense with room to grow. I'm excited to see what he can do next season.
Yeah, still only 25. Shout out to Kelly too. I mean, she put him 1 over Michkov last year and 25 under 25, but
She was right.
she was right. He did have a breakout season. Now I'm just excited to see what those two would do with a good center, like Konecny,
I
a
know.
legit 1C, and Tippett. Maybe it'll be Luchenko in 2 or 3 years. Hopefully Tippett and Konecny are still in their prime. But yeah, those two are locked up until 2032 for Tippett, 2033 for Konecny, at a combined just under 15 million. So
they would be a lot of fun with Luchenko. That would be the fastest line in the NHL. That would be the fastest skating line in the NHL.
Yeah, and like if the Flyers were in a position where they could compete, I mean, like Luchenko probably wouldn't make the roster out of camp, but they would have went harder at someone ready to go. So you know what? Maybe Morgan Frost can be that guy. We've been saying that for 5 or 6 years now, but
since he was drafted.
Yeah, he's 25. This is kind of his put up or shut up year, as we've been saying every year as well. So
yeah, that's the same with Joel Farabee. Oh, this is the make or break year for Joel Farabee.
Yeah. Well, Farabee's right up there with Tippett and Konecny in the 5-on-5 points per 60. So
he's
solid. He's solid at 5-on-5, even though everyone wants to dump him for nothing. He's 24, $5 million a year till 2028. Very, very reasonable contract there for Farabee.
Yeah, he was also for the first half of the season one of the best rush contributors in the league. Like, he was really fucking good off the rush. That kind of went away as the season wore on, but still real good.
Yeah, I think kind of the issue with Farabee is he is the extra guy usually. Like, he's like usually the top guy on his line. Like, he's on the third line, or he's on the second, not even the second line, because he's usually their third left wing behind
Forster
either
and Tippett.
Forster and Tippett or Konecny, whoever's playing on their offside. So yeah, hopefully Farabee can see a step forward. But yeah, it's going to be about getting that center. So hopefully Couturier is healthy now after those surgeries. Maybe Frost can take a step forward with better wingers now. Yeah,
I do want to touch on Frost real quick because NHL fantasy hockey is revving up, and Morgan Frost has been named by a couple places as like a potential breakout candidate, because if he gets a lot of minutes with Michkov, like, that'll be the most skilled player he's ever played with. And Morgan Frost, if he has anything, he has incredible puck skills. So being able to play with a guy who can execute on some of the plays he's trying to make might be able to put up a pretty impressive season.
Yeah. I mean, Frost, there is hope there that he can put it together with me. Maybe do a Frost, Michkov, Farabee line and see what they can do at 5-on-5. I think that'd be a
The
Pretty good
FFM, the FFM line.
FFM line. Yeah, we'll have to think of something for that. Yeah,
Jesus.
Final Fantasy. What's M in Roman numeral? Isn't that like is it
Oh,
a is it 1,000?
it's a lot, right? Are you looking it up?
I'm looking it up. It is
Okay,
1,000. Yeah,
it is 1,000.
Final Fantasy 1,000.
Final Fantasy 1000.
Yeah,
Incredible.
yeah, and then yeah. You also have Bobby Brink. Like the Flyers have a bunch of good, fun young forwards that
Mhm.
hopefully they can put it together this year.
Hopefully, um, because like in the case of Bobby Brink, if he's not, there's a bunch of prospects nipping at his heels. So this is a big year for a lot of these prospects that are already on the roster.
Yeah, yeah, this is a year for the players to show what they can do. Flyers got 6 picks in the top 50 or 60. I mean, definitely
Mhm.
60, hopefully top 50 next year's draft, including 3 first round picks. So they'll have the flexibility to
Mhm.
either load up more prospects, trade up to get a top center, trade for a center in the league. Like
Yeah,
this is a year where it's like, okay, let's see fully what we got. And then next off season is the big one.
yeah. I I still am thinking the 2026 offseason is going to be the big one when Connor McDavid hits free agency and we get to lure him here to Philadelphia.
He's not hitting free agency,
Not going to hit free
unfortunately.
agency, right? Maybe
Yeah,
we trade for him.
maybe, maybe.
Hagen a third for Connor McDavid. Bonk in a third.
Bonk in a third, yeah.
Bonk in a third for Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
Um,
All right, this is your last show for a few weeks here,
2 weeks.
Joe.
Yeah, I think 2
What do you
weeks.
what do you think is going to be the main storyline when you come back for your next show?
Whoa.
Who do you think is going to surprise in camp, either positively or negatively?
Oh, who do I think is going to surprise in camp? In a bad way or in a good way?
Either way,
Um,
we got the rookie games this weekend. I don't think preseason starts. I think in 2 weeks. Yeah, Sunday the 22nd, Monday the 23rd. 2 away games, and then their first home preseason game is the 26th against the
okay.
Islanders.
I get home the 24th, so I'm going to miss those first 2 games.
Okay. Well,
And my hot take is that Matvei Mishkov will have 0 points in both of those games.
he won't play both games. He'll probably play one of them.
Okay, he'll have 0 points in that. Yeah, I think he's going to have 0 points in the rookie showcase this weekend. Whichever date they play him, I think he's going to have 0.
They're playing the Rangers, right? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how the Rangers prospects are. I don't know how their goalies are, especially.
Hey, they better
They
watch out.
shouldn't be good because they've been competitive for forever. But
I mean, they've got Matt Rempe, so I guess that's the spectacle. I hope Mishkov keeps his head up because I do not want to just have him get clotheslined and that's the end of his season. That would be miserable.
Can Hunter McDonald fight, or is he just big? Hopefully, he can fight.
I wonder. He might be able to. He's big enough. But you got to get the fighting class like they did at the end of training camp a couple of years ago, and everybody was like, "Why are they training these prospects to fight?" And it's like it was an optional post-practice thing, and the only reason they did it is because Ronnie Adder got the shit kicked out of him by Ross Johnston in one of those preseason games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure they don't want them to fight, but they're like, hey, so you don't get your ass handed to you. This is what you do.
Yeah.
Useful information to know.
Yeah. Maybe Nick Delore will show up with IM12 paperwork, and he'll suit up to protect Mishkov there.
How do you do, fellow kids? It'll just be the Steve Buscemi meme walking onto the ice, skating onto the ice.
Yeah.
How do you do, fellow rookies?
He'd still be a fourth liner in the rookie games.
Yep. Do you have any hot takes for the preseason?
I think Fedotov is going to impress. I think Fedotov's going to impress quite a bit because the preseason isn't nearly as fast as a regular season. So it'll help him get back up to speed. I think, a full offseason of training camp with that big body, big pads in that, I think he'll have a solid start.
Speaking of goalies, my other hot take, I think Kolosov shows up.
Whoa.
I think he's going to show up. He's going to surprise us all.
I am hearing that he might, per Joe DeMarini.
Yes, you are hearing that.
Yes,
in my heart of hearts, I'm trying to be the optimist and say that he'll show up.
I'd love that if he just showed up, and that'd be good.
Ha, fooled you. That would be great.
But also, Kolosov, where was he in the elite prospect rankings? Like,
not high. Yarnison was higher than him.
And I think he was right above or below Zvragin, who I know he's older
Above.
than, and like he's on a faster track, obviously, but like he's not a top goalie prospect. Like
No,
people shouldn't be treating him as one.
no. It's just frustration that within like 6 months, another player has been like, "Well, I don't want to play for you guys."
Yeah.
Um, which I get that frustration is real.
Hmm.
It's valid, but I don't know, man. Leaving your country to go play hockey, it's not the easiest thing in the world. So I get I get where his reservations and reticence comes from, but also you signed a contract, dude. You gotta
Yeah.
figure that out.
Yeah.
But
Especially
anyway,
if you're just chained up in a hotel room. Like, unless you're into that,
yeah,
I mean, not going to shame you, but like if you're just chained up in a hotel room, you
yeah.
don't want to be
To the
in that hell.
radiator,
Yeah.
classic 1950s movie tropes. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to him.
Yeah. All right. I think that's gonna about do it for us. Make sure you
Yeah.
are subscribed to the Broad Street Hockey Podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, on Apple or Spotify or Pocket Cast or Podbeam or Bean or wherever else.
And only
Subs-
one of those names was made up.
I don't think any of them were.
I don't think any of them were
No.
either.
No, yeah. Make sure you also subscribe to us on YouTube, Broad Street Hockey. There, hoping to do more fun stuff there. So make sure you get on board there. Like and subscribe to BroadStreetHockey.com, of course. Shout out Bet Online football
Mhm.
season. You got plenty of stuff to bet on there. And you can follow me on Twitter at rgilbertsop. And where can the people find you?
You can find me at JF DeMarini on Twitter. I will try and post some things from my Euro trip, and if anyone has been to Dublin and has some recommendations, I'm all ears. So should be fun. I'll miss it. I'm gonna miss it, but it's a nice 2-week break from hockey, and I don't have to think about the Flyers. I'm sure they're gonna do something crazy the second I like land in Ireland, but
Always, always.
oh God, no. Hey, at least I'm not Charlie O'Connor, because seemingly every time he tries to do something else, they just pull some shit. He's like, well, fuck, I gotta drop what I'm doing. Poor
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Until next time. Thanks for listening.
Go Flyers.